Hi, I'm Brogen Hayes, and you're watching One to Watch. Like last week, there are not a huge amount of films coming out in Irish cinemas this week. There is one gigantic blockbuster, which will remain nameless. This week's One to Watch is not that film. Instead, it is Begin Again. Yes, I know this is the second week in a row that I have chosen a One to Watch from an Irish director, but I swear I'm not just choosing them because they're Irish directors. Begin Again is directed by John Carney, who previously brought us Once, and the film follows Mark Ruffalo's character Dan, who is fired from the record company that he founded because he's sort of fond of the sauce. And as he drowns his sorrows at a bar one night, he hears a singer-songwriter, Greta, played by Keira Knightley, singing in the bar and realises that he has stumbled across someone who is potentially the next big thing. The trouble is that Greta doesn't really want to be famous because she's had a pretty bad experience with fame fairly recently, and she just kind of wants to go back to England, go home and forget about her whole experience in New York. So yes, I have seen the trailer for Begin Again, and I know it looks like a cheap knockoff version of Music and Lyrics, the film that starred Hugh Grant and Drew Barrymore. And yes, I know that the film was previously called Can a Song Save Your Life, which is a dreadful title. And I'm not too sure that Begin Again is that much better, to be honest, but the good news is that Begin Again is actually a wonderfully sweet and endearing little film. Mark Ruffalo continues his talent for playing the warm and engaging sort of everyman. He does start off a little bit like Hank Moody in Californication, but by the end of the film, he has become this well-rounded, well-adjusted, gentle and sweet character, and it's great to see that progression within the character, and it's great to see Mark Ruffalo on screen. He is super charming and super adorable on screen, and to see him just be his passionate and engaged and excited self, that'll do for me. I'm quite happy with that. The other side of the coin is Keira Knightley as Greta, and I generally don't have a lot of time for Keira Knightley, but the good news again is that Knightley is fantastic in the role. Yes, she's playing a sort of hipster light who cycles around New York on her bicycle and her stripy t-shirts, but this doesn't put up that hipster wall between us and the character. Her story is really, really relatable, and it turns out, shockingly, that Keira Knightley can sing. She has this beautiful voice, and it is through the gentleness and sweetness and warmth of her singing voice that we get to know more about the character and genuinely have a surprise. Keira Knightley can sing. Who knew? Apparently John Carney. The rest of the cast is made up of Catherine Keener as Dan's former wife, Hayley Steinfeld as Dan's daughter, and Adam Levine as Greta's hugely super successful ex-boyfriend. The great thing about Begin Again is the chemistry between Keira Knightley and Mark Ruffalo. It's gentle and sweet, and there is no forced love story in there. This is two people who just really enjoy each other's company, who find something that they have in common and run with it. They're not trying to get together. They're not trying to have a romantic relationship. Greta's been hurt before, and Dan's still holding out hope for his previous relationship. So thankfully, no shoehorned in love story. Phew. John Carney's film does feel a little bit like it was inspired by 13 Going on 30. Mark Ruffalo has that sweet sort of guy next door vibe going on. And also using the streets of New York as Greta's recording studio does smack of that amazing photo shoot Ruffalo did in 13 Going on 30 with Jennifer Garner, which was an incredibly sweet scene. It's that same sort of vibe, it's that same sort of feeling, but this time they're creating music and using the city as their recording studio. Yeah, sort of hipster, but you know what? Let's go with it. John Carney allows the relationship and the chemistry and the power between Dan and Greta to ebb and flow, bringing in friendships and bringing in previous relationships so we get a bigger and better understanding of who these people are, not just two people who meet in a bar and say, hey, let's record an album together. The songs are really, really good, but there is the trouble that just sometimes the film lacks the energy to keep it going, and the songs are used to kind of push the film forward. The songs are great, like I said. It's not a huge complaint, but it's something that's quite noticeable, and it's something that the film feels like it's struggling sometimes to find where it's going to end up. Out of 10, I give Begin Again 8. It's a really, really great tale, and I will be seeking out the soundtrack for the film. Yes, I will be putting Keira Knightley songs on my iPod. People who know me well will realise that this is a huge step for me. John Carney has learned from the mistakes that he made with Once. I'm sorry, I know, I'm doing an Irish film review blog thingy and I probably should like Once, but I didn't. That's another blog for another day. John Carney's learned from his mistakes and he's made Begin Again this really warm and engaging story, and casting Mark Ruffalo as the lead. You've won me over already, not only because I love Mark Ruffalo, but because he just has this lovely energy that he brings to every project that he does. Until next week, when there's even less released in Irish cinemas, your one to watch is Begin Again. I've been Brogen Hayes, and this has been One to Watch.